Okay, been a little while since I've done a proper AI rant. Said I wasn't going to do as many, and I haven't. But I'm going to do this one. This is kind of a reaction to some things that happened here in Portland, and then by extension, kind of some attitudes that are expressed that I think come up elsewhere as well. So, in a nutshell, here's the deal. Music Millennium here in Portland is a local record store, you know, locally owned. It's been around for a long time. It's the kind of place that in the 90s, like a touring band would have done some kind of like in-store performance and signing event, and it continues to hold on as sort of a figurehead, a bastion, a local institution of kind of a, I don't know, of a bygone era. Who knows what will happen to those things? But I think that it's akin to, it, in as much as local record stores are evolving to become part of the fabric of kind of the keeping of the fire, the keeping of the flame of kind of the human element of the arts. That music is made by people who have skills, who play instruments, who write songs, who perform in spaces, and a part of the magic of how music affects us as people is the way in which it can be transferred in person, in real spaces. And I think that, record stores are part of that fabric. And this goes beyond music too. Why is it important that we have art galleries where people can go and look at art in person and be exposed to something that didn't just get served up to them via algorithm, but that they chanced upon? Why is it important to take a chance on local theater, to put on plays that people have never heard of, to debut new works by local writers? Why is it important to do that stuff? Because that is the headwater of human creativity, and that it's important that we retain that thread in our culture. And it's kind of topsy-turvy, and kind of wondering like how will it evolve, how will it survive, and especially in this era of fast encroaching unregulated AI. And to be clear, fast encroaching unregulated AI has a whole bunch of very much bigger concerns, environmental concerns, energy concerns, and the fact that it's mostly being used to combat the scourge of wages. But there's also creative concerns, and I've covered those a lot. And again, as I always do, I refer you to Top Music Attorney for any actual like legal explanations that I may allude to here. I'm not a lawyer. I get basically all my information from Top Music Attorney and similar accounts, who really do know their stuff, to make sure that my facts are reasonably straight. So here's the deal: is Music Millennium was going to put on a listening party that they had to pull the plug on, and I think rightly so, because dun, 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 as you can probably guess, it was AI related. So a local artist, Brandon Carmody, who I do not know, was going to host a listening party for his new album AI. And this was an album that was produced with AI music generator Suno. And I think, there was pushback from the community. There was pushback from the staff. I think the community pushback mostly centered on the notification of a planned protest by musicians outside. And it's the wrong look for Music Millennium. And honestly, I think this was a big mistake. Music Millennium needs to recognize you are part of the aforementioned sort of thread of the human experience. You are part of that exchange of music in real spaces by real people, and part of what makes you stand apart from the kind of soulless but very available and very easy and convenient, large online repositories of music and streaming, is the idea that, that a listening party like this might exist. that it might be somewhere where people connect with music that's curated for them to explore and encounter and discover. But this is the wrong one. This is this is definitely, in my opinion, just from how it's described, the wrong event to put on. In any event, so the album was generated with Suno. What does that mean? I wanted to be very clear about the distinction, because to me, obviously, as I've covered many times, there's a very clear demarcation. I'm against AI in all its forms within music, but there's a clear distinction of music that's been written with AI as one flavor of I'm against that, and music that's performed by AI. Sometimes it's both, but performed by is a different distinction. So I wanted to clarify, see if the article gave an answer to whether or not the music was written by AI and performed, or just performed. It sounds like it was a little bit of both. And this is what they say. For this release, Carmody directed Suno to emulate an epic 70s sound with full band, to create themes, song ideas, and some lyrics for the album. So, keeping in mind that this article may be written by a non-musician, and non-musicians tend to conflate writing music with performing music to some extent. That they often blur the distinction between those things. Song ideas may be doing some lifting there, but certainly lyrics, it sounds like Suno did some writing, which obviously carries with it consequences that I've discussed elsewhere. Why that, in my opinion, should be a deal breaker for any songwriter. Any serious songwriter should avoid allowing AI to write anything for you. So watch the other video for a better explanation of that. So let's just assume for a moment that there was some writing that was done, but that also it was largely performed by Suno. Again, per my best understanding of the Suno terms and conditions per recent videos from Top Music Attorney, is that Suno puts you on the hook for anything they might generate which is deemed derivative, or dare I say, an infringement. So if you ask for epic 70s sound and you end up getting something that is in essence a copyright infringement, that's on you, not on Suno. So again, this should be a deal breaker. Like, if you're serious about your music and you want to release it, you just need to avoid all of the risk and exposure to risk that using AI garners. And honestly, like, part of the fun of being a capable musician is doing that sort of thing yourself, like figuring out for yourself how to emulate the 70s sound. Like, you don't need a shortcut. If you're worth your salt, like, take on that challenge. That's the whole point of creativity. Is what does that mean to you? Like, I've done similar things. I'm not going to get too much on it. I'm doing something right now where I'm kind of like, putting a new North Star in front of myself. Like, I want it to kind of, I have this playlist, this handful of bands that I don't normally write in this style that they collectively represent, but I'm going to kind of use them as a guide, and I'm going to kind of put them in my ears, and I'm going to see how that filters through me and what comes out of me when I'm thinking about that. That's kind of part of the fun of writing, is what's my version of a Beatlesque album? What's my version of a heavy metal album? What's my version of a jazz album? What's my version? What does that mean to me? What do I take and express that way? So, like, I'm sure that it sounds, ooh, they used AI to make a 70s album. To some people, non-writers, that probably sounds like, ooh, what an interesting application. To me, it's like, yeah, that's what I would do if I wanted to do a coffee table book of tardigrades in Great Adventures, as I've talked about before, and I still think is an awesome idea because I can't draw. Yeah, AI would let me do that. But if I were an artist, I'd just draw the freaking tardigrades, you know? If that were my jam, I'd just jam. If you're a musician and you're a songwriter and this is your jam, it's not that hard to kind of come up with a 70s thing. Like we see people doing that all the time. Pomplamoose just did a huge album where they got into a vibe and they, I think we all understand how to do that. Anyway, these were some of the things that Carmody said in response to, I'm definitely a proponent of musicians being musicians. Oh no, I guess this wasn't Carmody, excuse me. This was the owner of Music Millennium who said this. I'm definitely a proponent of musicians being musicians, but like the synthesizer, like the drum machine, like autotune, that have all infiltrated the music industry, the same situation came up when those things were happening with groups of people who go, that's not right, and here we are, and those things are still being used today. Well, if that's the owner of Music Millennium, shame on you. Because here, let me insert some other things. First off, there's a huge difference between AI and synthesizers. That's like saying the same thing happened when the electric guitar came out, and people were like, let's do electric and guitarish, and yet here we are. That's ridiculous. Because do you want to know what the huge difference is? These are tools that people still have to use to make creative decisions. And yeah, maybe there's some consequences that are a little bit distasteful about some of those things. Like autotune kind of has lowered the bar in general for vocal ability. It has also kind of made this squeaky clean, this antiseptic version of things somehow become a little bit too in vogue. But that still is a decision that someone's making, and other people are deciding not to do that. AI is a decision machine that liberates you from having to be creative at all. People make these silly arguments. I've heard this whole thing with it's like, well, what's the difference between, AI has been around for decades in the form of your DAW, in the form of autotune. No, it hasn't. AI is a very specific thing. We all know what AI is. I hand the problem to AI and it does it for me. Oh, it all depends on how well I describe the problem. Oh, and when it hands it back to me and I say, I'm gonna revise it, I guide it. It's doing all the real work for you, and it's all derivative, and it's all, synthesized and from learning on real things and stealing real stuff. Shame on was it Terry Courier? Shame on him, the owner of Music Millennium, for standing up for AI. Know yourself, know your business, know the fight you're in. You're on this side of the line. You should never have booked this. You should be apologizing for booking it and being like, I see their point. We are all on the sort of human side of this element, and it is special. It's special to sift through the stacks and to discover something just because you chance upon it. And because someone curated it and thought, this is good enough to be in my shop. And I want other people to come in here and know that I have these things to share with you. The curation is part of what I'm selling. Listen, dude, you need to get anti-AI as soon as possible if you really want to, or else just retire. Give it up. Give it up and turn it over to algorithms that get increasingly better at serving up awesome music to us all without your benefit. I thought that was actually the guy, but it's not. So the artist says this: my heart is broken, but I understand. Musicians feel like AI is coming for their gigs, jobs, or creativity. I don't think any of the mob that was demanding my cancellation actually heard the record and realized that the subject matter of my album is AI, the A to Z. AI coming for your gig. AI is coming for plenty of jobs. Musicians probably least of all. So far, actually, if there's any job that is more protected from AI, it's songwriters, just because of the legal protections that actually do exist at this moment. Who knows for how much longer? I've talked about, AI is not a threat to me as a songwriter. What's a threat to me is songwriters who work harder than I do, who hustle more than I do. And I think your heart is broken. The subject matter of your album is AI, the A to Z. Well, I don't know. Maybe your album is like this sort of counter AI meta commentary on it. Maybe it's really smart. Maybe it's really thoughtful and perceptive. But I'm skeptical that that's the case. If the best that you could do, if that were the case, I would expect you to be speaking about that front and center rather than your first sentence is musicians feel like AI is coming for their gigs, jobs, or creativity. It sounds kind of like a defense of AI. I don't think that any serious musician should look at AI and say, the benefits outweigh the risks on that one. Because they don't. They don't. Like the benefit, like I talked about, like I can write. I would challenge myself to write in a 70s style over, I wonder what'll happen if I let a robot do it for me. I wonder what'll happen if I let the smartest robot in the world write a 70s style for me. I think you'll see it's AI, A to Z. I don't think the mob listened. The mob didn't want to listen to your album. And I think you need to take that to heart. All right. Anyway, I'm being a little unfair, I suppose, because it's true. I haven't listened to the album. I'm not interested in listening to the album based on the description of how it was created, on principle. And that's my right. I'm not gonna give it over to that. And I'm shocked that it literally took me till just now to realize that the first quote was not. I see that quotes like that from AI songwriters all the time, talking about, well, this is, you people whine about this. Here's progress. Technology's here. The future's here, and it's so bright. I gotta wear shades. It isn't like. It's very, very sad to me to watch people kind of fooling themselves into thinking that they've arrived, that this tool, they are using this tool, and that it's liberating them, when in fact it's like, you are peripheral to what you unleash with AI. You prompt it, and you get out of the way for a lot of these people. I'm not saying this particular writer, but even like people who are doing, the new trend is, well, to demo things. I'm not going to get musicians to demo it myself. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write the song, and they write the whole song. They do all the writing, and then they let AI do a demo of it. They all sound the same. I heard an episode of Songtown, like a podcast where they go through song submissions, and professional songwriters offer sort of critiques, and like everything, like 90% of these songs were like country songs with AI demos, and it just is so lifeless. Like I think they think they're making it slick and presentable and appealing, and it just is boring and flat and homogenous, and they're all kind of the same, and it makes it hard to distinguish what's special about yours. Whereas, just put a little soul in it. Put a little soul in the things you love. That's what it's all about. So, all right, too long. Too right on, probably. Too right. They can't handle me. All right, till next time.